Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is part 3 in the series, Ladies, Where's Your Man? If you've already watched part 1 and part 2, I discussed various different dynamics that we need to consider when we're looking at the reasons why relationships are broken now. In this video, I want to go into some things that perhaps you may not have considered. Those of you that know me personally and have known me for some extended period of time know that I've been in education for many years before I took my retirement. One of the big things that I learned as it pertains to children are the stages of development and the things that we're supposed to learn by certain points in our life, certain times. And at different stages of life, we're more inclined to master different things. An infant is not going to master calculus no better than a grown man doesn't learn how to walk at 25 or 30 years old. You learn how to walk when you're an infant going into toddler. It's much the same with relationships in our development as adults, as romantic adults, as intimate adults, as when you consider the way things were years ago compared to the way they are now. There's some very, very distinct differences. 50 years ago, it was commonplace for a husband and wife to have 8 children, 5 children. I've known people that had 13 children. My great-grandmother was one of 13 children. That was commonplace years ago. And the family dynamics were such that they could manage that amount of children and everybody be loved and cared for and accounted for. Things have changed, obviously. You know, we're in the 2.5 children phase of life, or stage of life, time in life. I personally have 4 children. But everything is in phases. You don't give an infant a steak, you give an infant breast milk. You don't give a grown person breast milk, you give a grown person steak. In fact, many adults, it's very, very commonplace now for adults to develop lactose intolerance, because as our bodies age, we no longer need or can tolerate or break down those elements that are inside of milk. With that said, and perhaps I spent way too much time on that, but with that said, we have to pay attention to the stages in life as it pertains to relationships. When we were in our teens, 20s, even our 30s, it was easy to meet someone new and go and talk and date and, oh, we don't like them, okay, on to the next. And you just continue and continue and continue until you find somebody that you're compatible with and you date for an extended period of time. As we get older, though, it becomes increasingly more difficult to bounce back from a failed relationship. Personally, I don't think a relationship is failed. I think a relationship that didn't go a long term was perhaps because there were some things to learn, and once you learn those things, on to the next. Of course, some people have a different perspective. That's my personal perspective. Not saying that that's the only perspective. With that said, during our 20s and 30s nowadays, people tend to be working very hard at establishing their financial future, building their career to a certain level, building their education to a certain level, and putting relationships on the back burner. figuring I'll get to that after I get mine. I've heard it a million times. I got to get mine first, and after I get mine, then I'll go and I'll think about having children, starting a family, getting married, so on and so forth. Personally, I think that's one of the big problems. Not that we're pursuing our educational goals, career goals, financial goals in our 20s and 30s. I think that's great. But I think the problem is putting a relationship or the potential for a relationship on the back burner. I think a relationship should be happening simultaneously. I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. If you have a male and female together, or male and male, or female and female, whatever floats your boat. But if you have two people romantically, intimately involved, sharing the same space, you're spending less money. Let me say it again. If you have two people romantically, intimately involved, sharing the same space, you spend less money. Theoretically, you should be able to save more money. Again, that's my personal perspective on things. But during that same time, if you're working towards building a relationship while building your education or furthering your education, while furthering your career, while furthering your financial future or building your financial future, when you get into your 30s and 40s and 50s, now you're not saying, oh, wow, now there's no single guys. We're all eligible guys. Even some of the guys, we're all the ladies that are ladies. Over the past 15 to 20 years, the term gold digger became popular. And there's also another term that became popular, and we're grown, so I'm just going to say it. And for you non-people of color, you might have another term, but for people of color, I've heard it again a million times. Niggas ain't shit. Well, no, niggers ain't shit. But men are. A real man is. Real man is valuable. I've also heard women say, I don't need no man. Well, yeah, you do. We all need somebody. To say that you don't need a man, period, as a blanket statement, I don't agree with that. How many women are changing their own oil? For that matter, how many men are changing their own oil? Maybe that's a bad example. How many women are taking snakes out of the garage and cutting grass and all of the things that you do because perhaps you have no choice but to do it, but you would probably prefer to have your man, your husband, your significant other to do those things. Climbing up to clean out the gutters on the house and all of those types of things. You know, the toilet is broken, replacing the toilet. All things that anybody could do if you know how to do it, but those are traditionally men's things that men should be doing. Changing a flat tire and all of these different things that traditionally men do. But when it comes to raising children, only a real man can raise a young boy to be a man. Not saying that a woman is unable to do it, but a woman can't really teach a man how to be a man like a man can teach a young man to be a man. But if she has no choice, you got to do the best that you can. And many women, many women have done a stellar job. But I believe that if a man was in his right place, in his right position, that it would have been a job perhaps even better done, with mom and dad working together to make that boy into the best man that he could possibly be. That leads me into the next video. I'm going to go into some more things as it pertains to boys turning into men or growing into men, and some of the hiccups that we have now, very, very prevalent in our society. Look out for number 4. Again, this is video number 3. Ladies, where's your man? And I thank you for your attention, your time, your consideration. Please feel free to comment. Thank you.